Al, we have reached the penultimate episode of Season 2 of Nijigasaki.
Mm-hmm.
The end is in sight.
It hit me earlier. I was like, wait a minute. This is the penultimate, which I couldn't remember the word for it, but I was like,
That's why I'm here.
this is almost over. Heck.
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 And heck.
I'm not ready for it to be over.
No. It's very sad. But we have this week's episode to get through, and then next week we can get super sad.
Uh-huh.
Super sad. Hello, welcome to this week's episode. Jared Now Watch Love Live Nijigasaki High School Idol Club. It is episode number 25. I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Lady M.
Hello.
We are discussing Season 2, episode number 12, entitled Cheer.
Cheer.
Cheers.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yes, exactly.
Yay!
Big Cheers parody episode this week. Unfortunately, no, that is not the case. But we begin this episode, and they're trying to figure out when exactly they're going to do their live show, because they have to find some time to do it, and they're like looking at the big holidays in December, and like, okay, which of these would be the best one? There's Christmas. Christmas would be good, but they're like, oh, the Love Live prelims are the 25th. We can't do it that day.
Connets is absolutely not. No.
Boop boop.
No. Nope.
And then they're like, all right, well, should we do it next? And they're like, well, what about New Year's Eve?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to do their live show on New Year's Eve.
They do a big circle around the 31.
Countdown Love Live.
Woohoo! Those never happen.
Exactly. So they got that planned out, and now it's got to get everything prepped and ready and practicing and all that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, Kanata is noticing that both IMU and you are like weird.
Distracted.
She's like, I'm watching you from my pillow. Some of the other club members, or like not non-idol club members, and like people in the school stop by and are like, hey, we'll help you out with the live show and everything. You know, we want to make sure this is a good show because it's your first official show as just you guys, so we want to make it as good as it can be. They get cookies and everything, and then the Rebirth gals get their own cookies this time, which is nice.
It is nice. It is nice. I like that. They're like, "Hello, Rebirth girls. Here are your cookies." And Shiriko like hesitates and is like, "Oh, that's really nice of you." Mia's already like, "Well, I'm
I got my
stealing
cookie.
this cookie. This is mine."
Nom, 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 nom.
It was great, and I was like, "Yeah, that would be me."
Yes, you are a gremlin.
Yeah, and I love cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Not a hamburger though, but she'll take it.
Exactly. We see Kanata and Haruka have a little chit chat where Haruka is going to be the center for her club, and she's still having to get ready for the prelims and everything, and Kanata's trying to like do her best to kind of like, cheer her up and everything, cheer her on and all that sort of stuff, but she can kind of start to tell that like, oh man, pressure's starting to get to her. The pressure's on. All that sort of stuff. We get the Rebirth gals chit-chatting before the show.
Mm-hmm.
Or like practicing obviously before the show. And Monji's like, we got to practice together. We got to do things together. Yay. So hopefully at some point during the live show we get a Rebirth song, because that would be disappointing if they do this very specific scene and don't do anything with it.
I would be very, very disappointed. I was saying before we started recording, like, this season has had a whole lot of subunit stuff, and we have this very specific scene. Like, if we don't get a Rebirth song, I'm going to be very upset.
The only way I would see it that they don't do it is if like they had done the planning for season 2 prior to the Rebirth gals getting together officially. So they couldn't really fit them into the season, but like that's the only way I could see it really being like a thing that would make it so they don't have a thing. But
I
guess
like
we'll see
they
next
plan
week.
this stuff out like super ahead of time though. Like, I could be wrong, but it seems like they're like they make sure that if something is going to come up, they take care of it. Like,
You'd hope so.
having like some of these actresses cast like way before we knew about them and all that jazz.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
We shall see. Bum, 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 bum. We see
Bum.
we see what IMU got as an email last week.
It's all in English.
It's all in English. It's a gal from London who's like, "Hey, I saw your live show and it was really cool and inspired my friend who wants to become a school idol, but like we don't have that kind of culture here, so I don't really know what to do. Like, help. Also, you guys are awesome. I like to support you guys. Okay, cool. Bye, but later."
Yep.
And Amy's like, "Huh."
She looks so concerned, and I'm like, this is like a nice thing to happen. What is wrong with you?
Well, I think it's she's concerned because she wants to do something to help, but
She
like she
wants to help
doesn't.
them, right?
She has no idea how.
I mean, that's fair. Like, I wouldn't know how to help either.
Yeah. There's a scene where you and Kaoruko are in front of the music competition poster, and they're kind of just chit chatting about that, and how Yu's is like, "Yeah, a lot of people in the music class are doing this. I don't know about me though." Kaoruko's like, "Yeah, if you do this, you're gonna, be on the path to being a composer and all that sort of stuff. It'd be a good thing to try." Also, IMU at one point sees a poster for a short-term London exchange program, which is obviously very convenient.
So convenient.
But that is also a thing. And then we get to see Kanata and her giant paper
Lovely Haruka.
that she's making a giant cheer for Haruka type deal, and it's just like, I did it. And then she runs into you, who had to buy a drink with her school ID. It's very fancy. So she has a chit chat with you.
Me?
Yes, you. And they talk about like the music competition, and because IMU and you before had a little conversation, but like you was like, I don't really think I'm going to do it. And now in this conversation with Kanda, she's like, I don't know why I told her I wasn't going to do it, because I'm obviously considering it. Like, I don't know why I said that. And essentially Kanda just becomes like, goes into big sister mode here and is like, hey, sometimes you got to do stuff for you, but like, it's scary because you feel like you're going to be separated from people you like and everything. And, getting pushed into the unknown, especially when you two have been together this whole time. You don't want to have that separation and everything. But sometimes you just got to do things that are outside of your comfort zone and all that sort of stuff. And he was like, okay, see you later.
That's
Have fun
cool.
with
Thank
your
you.
big paper. So Kanata goes back to her giant paper and is like, what the heck am I going to do with this? And then Ayumi shows up.
Conveniently.
And she's like, hey, I got this email and this opportunity, and like I'm considering it, but I don't want to be away from you because she's the one who supported me and everything, and it's scary, it's unknown. And Kanata's is like, well, you're both in the same pickle here.
And he was like, what? And you're like, no, nothing, never mind.
Just talking to myself.
You heard nothing.
But essentially she gives them both advice to be like, just sit on this for a little bit. I think, you'll both kind of find a way to talk to each other and give each other the push that you need. But you don't have to make a decision right now, per se. So that's kind of the gist of what she talks about. And then she has to get her big paper. She's like, what am I going to do with this?
Also, just as a side note, I sent you the video because of the joke. But that's literally something that Kiryu yells when he does karaoke with Haruka, is lovely Haruka.
Yep.
And I was like, it's Kiryu.
That's very funny.
That's what Kanata's gonna do. She's gonna do the air traffic control thing while she's singing. Perfect. Anyway, continue.
It's very good.
Yakuza references in my Love Live.
Exactly. So Kanata rolls up her giant paper, just like hugging it, like, I got my paper. And then these girls show up and like, are you Kanata?
You can't have my paper.
You can't have my paper.
Mine.
They're like, no, we just want to talk to you. They are members of Haruka's school idol fan club. And they're like, yeah, we want to be able to like cheer on the girls and everything, but like we can't because there's no audience allowed at the Love Live prelim. So we're trying to figure out something to do. And Kanata's like, you are my comrades.
Comrades.
I will help you. So she comes back to the other gals and is like, hey, I want to do this thing for all of the other, clubs that we've worked with over the year to, cheer them on for the prelims and everything. Because, like, we can't go there in person because that's not allowed for the prelims. But I want to be able to do something for them. And Rina comes up with this idea. She's like, oh, I was going to do this for the the concert, but we can just kind of repurpose this thing I'm working on and do this, and we can kind of just find a way to cheer them on without being there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's on board with that. um Kanata sees Haruka off on the day of the prelims, and then she's like, calls you, and is like, I've seen her off, I'll meet up with you in a little bit. And they've all kind of gathered. They have like a little setup here, and they're going to do a little live streamy with all a bunch of other gals, as the gals at the prelims are all just very nervous and like trying to figure things out. Like Haruka's just like, and then like you hear Kanata's solo song as her ringtone. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta get this. And
That
Kanata
was funny.
sends her a message like, here you go, I sent you something, take a look at this. And they also send it to like everyone there as well. It's like a live stream link, and it's the Niji gals along with other gals from the various schools that are competing, and it's just like all of them like yelling to cheer them on and everything.
But first, it's Kasume's face, just like, is this thing on? Is this
They're like,
working?
yeah, we're live now, we're live, pal. She's like,
Ah. Because that was funny.
that was real good. But yeah, it's a real nice thing that they're able to do, and just allow the girls at the prelims to kind of like, get the pressure off of them, let those fears kind of wash away for a little bit, and allow them to perform to their best abilities, all the while that everyone there is able to kind of watch the performances as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kanata gives you and IU both kind of the push to be like, hey, why don't you tell each other what you're doing? So they both kind of discuss like, oh, hey, I'm doing this. Oh, I want to do this. And they're like, all right, cool. We'll make sure we'll still support each other, even though we're not going to be like that, split apart for too long. But like, this isn't going to change how our relationship is or anything like that.
Right.
And then we get the end of the episode where they discuss this with the rest of the gals and everything. And he's like, I've got solo songs for all of you. Huzzah!
All in color-coded folders.
She's been working very hard on that.
Obviously.
And then we get our post-credits scene where essentially is like, I guess, before the show starting, and we get to see the logo, which is essentially also the first live logo that they did in real life, which is a very cool and neat touch.
It was a cool thing.
Yeah. And that's our penultimate episode.
Yeah.
A lot of build. This definitely had the feels of like a good Love Live episode, because it's like, non-main character helping out some of the main characters, good emotional beats and everything, and just a lot of good like story build throughout it.
And it was cool that like, we've had some focus on third years lately. Like Kanata got some nice story time here.
Yeah, and like it also just fits into the idea of like everyone's kind of looking to the future of like, okay, what do we do next? Which was
Right.
obviously brought up in the last episode with Karin, and thinking about that. Now we kind of get a little bit more of that this week. So I thought that was a very good touch. But it's also, I think, interesting as well that like, unlike All Stars, where it was like you going off on
I was going to mention that.
the exchange program, it's IEMU going off on a separate exchange program
Yeah.
to do something, which I thought was an interesting idea.
It is. It's totally an interesting idea. Another interesting idea, I think, anyway, is the fact that this is like running parallel to Love Live stuff, because like Haruka and her folks are all trying to go out for Love Live, and I don't know. I just think it's really fun.
Yeah.
Niji like is pretty good at just like what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on words today.
Words are hard.
It's not subverting expectations, but they're just doing like they just go against the grain.
Yeah.
Of like what is expected of a Love Live.
They don't follow the
series.
beaten path.
There you go. Neither of us can word today.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. Sentences are hard. I don't know. I just really think that's fun how like they continue to be really unique in the series, in the greater world of like the Love Live series.
Yeah, like it just gives you a different like viewpoint of how like people can view this huge competition and everything. And also, like, with the stuff with IMU, you can see just how, like, oh, like, the way Nijigasaki has, like, shown themselves and used, like, the internet and social media as a way to promote themselves for everyone to see and everything. Like, it makes them more of, like, an international group than necessarily you would see most of the time in, like, a traditional Love Live series. Like, obviously, the first Love Live, I think, kind of tapped into that a little bit with, like, the
Yeah.
Muse stuff, because they got, like, invited to New York to perform and all that sort of stuff. But, like, most of the time you don't really see, like, the implications of, like, how these groups are viewed outside of Japan or outside of, like, just their area, essentially. Whereas here we get to see, like, oh, like, here's these people in London who are like, yeah, we watched your videos and everything and it was great, and now we want to, like, adapt that idea for us, but, like, that's not necessarily a thing here, which they also kind of go into as well. Like, hey, this is a very specific, like, thing for our culture and, like, our surrounding areas, especially specifically because, like, idol culture is, just a thing for, like, Japan, South Korea, places like that. Like, it's not necessarily going to be a thing elsewhere. So, like, adapting that and putting it into a different culture with different, norms and everything is not necessarily going to be just a copy and paste job.
Right.
Which is one of the things that, like, IU has to, like, kind of consider when she's going over there, being like, well, I can't just come over and be like, hey, this is what we do, so go ahead and do it. Like, that's just not necessarily how that's going to work. Which I don't know if they're necessarily going to go into that sort of stuff, considering we only have one episode left and everything. But, like, it's an interesting idea of how, like, they show the internationality of Love Live or just, like, idols in general, specifically in the series and everything, and, like, going into the idea of, like, hey, this isn't necessarily a thing that everyone does, so, it's hard to really do what we do in other places because, like we said, that's just not necessarily a thing people do, essentially. And they also go into, like, hey, this is why, like, Emma, Mia, and Lonju had to come here to do this because, like, they can't really do it in their respective countries.
Right. And I mean, it just kind of shows, like, a different way of being a school idol than what we're used to. And one thing I want to ask, and this may be just, like, completely bonkers, by them mentioning London, do you think they're setting up, like, a movie where they go somewhere?
It's possible, for sure. Like, usually the Love Live series, as we both know, is 2 seasons in a movie.
Yeah. This is feeling very Community at this point of, like, what was that one?
6 seasons in the movie.
Thank you.
The thing is, though, it's like this series in particular has always felt just like the black sheep of Love Live.
It does.
Because, like, we watched the first season where we were like, I don't know if we're going to get a second season, when usually that's a guarantee.
Right.
And then we got this, and now it's just like, I don't know if we're going to get a movie.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, like, what if they do a 3rd season instead of a movie?
Right. They could totally do that.
Like, I guess you just never know what to expect with Niji.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. Like, it's one of those things I don't know if we can answer, because they very specifically mentioned that, like, the thing that IMU is going to do is, like, just a 2-week exchange.
Right.
So I don't know if that would just be that would give them a good reason to be like, oh, everyone, let's go. She's gone for 2 weeks. We've missed her after 1 week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily a thing, or, like, they could do, like, hey, this is we could do a little bit of a time skip, and, like, they go back and check out these new idols or something.
Right.
And see how they're doing. Like, that could be a thing. But, yeah, it's one of those things, like, I don't know, because I don't know exactly what they want to do with this series.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It was interesting that they specifically mentioned, like, London by name, that I was like, I wonder if that's what they're doing. But, like,
yeah, totally.
Who can say?
Yeah, that is the ultimate question. Anyways, we have, like, some trivia this week, which is mostly what we've already talked about. Like, hey, they're doing a live show, and it's the same name as Niji's first live.
Woohoo!
There you go. But next week, we'll be discussing the Season 2 finale of Nijigasaki High School Idol Club, entitled Let This Thrill Resonate, which is presumably going to be a lot about the live show. We'll probably have a little bit of story stuff here and there, but probably a lot of performances, most likely, or just getting ready for performances and all that sort of stuff. Kind of like the Season 1 finale, essentially.
Yeah, totally.
But it'll be sad because that'll be it for Niji for now.
Rip.
Ripperoni pepperoni.
Sad piece.
But that's going to do it for this week.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimecheckup.com or sac.cools, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And that's it.
That's it.
So join us next week for the Season 2 finale of Nijigasaki.
Blah, blah, blah.